Happy today. I am William Brown from IamWilliamBrown.com. This is Disconnect to Connect, One Word Conversations. One Word Conversations is a self-discovery, relationship building conversation. I've designed it to kind of look at how we communicate with each other, how language shows up that causes connection and disconnection. Too often, one word, that's all it takes. We can say all the lovely words that we can come up with, and we can still have disconnection or connection. So, through having a conversation around one word, we can learn more about ourselves, learn more about other people, and build a relationship. One word conversations. It all turned into like one word there. One word conversations is brought to you by IamWilliamBrown.com, a place to help you live your life and be yourself. One way that I spotlight what's available at the store is our U cards. I pick our U cards to set the intention for this conversation, and so see how it comes up within this within this conversation. So just go from there. It's funny when you hear the word that that we're going to be talking about today. You'll understand why I'm all over the place with this. So the cards that I picked is I am full of grace, you are heard, and it's you I like. It's you I like is from Mr. Rogers, and you can YouTube that, and that's a wonderful song to remind you that you're something special. So this is the moment where I invite you to like, share, comment, ask questions, do all those things to let me know that this is a valuable use of your time and that you want to be a part of this conversation and others. So the word this morning is chaos, right? Right. So chaos. All we have to do is look on our social media feeds or the news or something, and chaos is right in front of us. So that word has been coming up a number of times for me, and so I wanted to have a conversation around it. So I invited a friend in so we can have a conversation.
And it's chaotic.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
Man, I'm doing spectacular. I really am.
This is great. This is a moment where I invite my guests to introduce themselves however it feels comfortable to them.
So usually people ask for some kind of a bio. And the thing that I struggle with bios is most people are looking for what are their highlights, what are the successes.
Right.
And I've had a lot of those. It's been cool. I mean, I've done millions of dollars in business, and I've done e-com. I've owned businesses and things back and forth. But the one thing that I always struggle with when it comes to bios is the fact that you don't always hear about all of the failures. You don't hear about the experiences. You don't hear about all the challenges and the really hard things that you had to go through to get to that success. So I guess I would like to say this as far as a bio and introduction is I'm over 40 years old, and I've had a great life. And I wouldn't trade any of those hard experiences for anything, because it's given me the platform, it's given me the skills and the ability to be able to talk and empathize and meet people with where they're at.
Well, wonderful. Yeah. Well, welcome to the conversation. Yeah. So with that in mind, how does the word chaos show up for you?
Well, it kind of already started. I mean, again, just trying to break the mold a little bit. The one thing that I learned, and again, we talked about the experiences. That's why I did the kind of bio and the introduction. The one thing that I've learned more than anything is the fact that me personally, and I guarantee that there's going to be people listening to this that will be able to resonate. I am attracted to it. I'm attracted to chaos. I'm attracted to the mess. Because, and I'm really drawn to this whole thing because of the fact that it is what I would classify my comfort zone. And when I look at my life, especially as a childhood, and as looking and coming through some of the challenges and the experiences that I've had, they were a mess. Right. And that became the norm. And therefore, because it was normal to me, I just believed everybody else was doing the exact same thing.
Wow.
And so I found myself constantly being drawn into that. And then when I would get drawn into it, I would look at it and say, well, it's going to be different next time, or next time it's going to be changed, or this is going to, but I'm always attracted to this mess. Right. And so it always became one of those things that in my life, it showed up in a lot of negative ways. and I showed up in the fact that now I'm trying to hide my chaos. I'm putting
Wow.
on a mask on when I go to church. I'm putting a mask on when I go out in the community. Somebody's coming over to the house. Man, we're cleaning up, man. Anything that they
Right.
see, we're cleaning up all of the chaos, right? That's
Right.
the way we present, because we're ashamed and we're afraid to have anybody know that we have chaotic life.
Right. It's very interesting because there was a lot of chaos in my childhood also, and one thing that that caused for me is being chaos, chaos or risk averse.
Yeah.
So I mean, I was one of those kids that, talk about mess. It's like, go outside and play and then come back in. My hands are dirty. It's like, dude, wash your hand, And so I really um, have like really grown up and kind of, I can see how it comes up. It shows up in my business. It shows up, raising my kids. It shows up in my marriage of, okay, if it's chaotic, I want to get it, in some type of shape. And sometimes, like you were saying, that's just life. It's a part of our life. And the more that we embrace that or kind of at least acknowledge it, we can find success within it.
Yeah, and I think it really comes down to, and this is going to be the core element of what we're talking about, is when you're looking at the chaos, it is out of chaos that comes order, that comes creativity. So, I mean, backing up a little bit, just saying, okay, let's define chaos. What exactly is chaos? How does chaos show up in our lives, and what is it that we need to deal with? So I look back at Webster's dictionary and it defines it. I'm going to read this here, and I'm looking off screen here for a second, but
Okay.
Webster dictionary defines chaos as a state of utter confusion, a confused mass or mixture, or a state where chance is supreme or inherently unpredictable in behavior of complex and a natural system. Like, oh my goodness gracious. Talk about a chaotic definition of chaos. I mean, like, golly. The thing is like, when I think of chaos too, it's like this absolute mixture of everything tangled in and on the top and everything else. And that's why we try to hide it. And we
Right.
want to just kind of put it away in a closet and say, okay, yeah, it's not in my life. It's not there. But this is where we have to transition from the negative aspects of chaos into what is the positive perspective of chaos. How do
Right.
we go from hiding and wearing a mask in public and putting on a happy face when we're bleeding inside,
Right.
to being real and saying, look, our lives are I mean, we just sat here and said, we know our lives are chaotic. Why do we hide it?
Right.
Why do we try
Right.
to keep it away from the world?
Right. It's like I'm like I before this conversation, I felt that I was this level-headed guy, I'm staying present and all that other kind of stuff. But there's a level of denial in the chaos in my life. There's just like, oh, gee whiz, I'm just like kind of acting like my life isn't chaotic, and it's just kind of like, everything's, happy-go-lucky. And it's like, wow, I think there is power in really embracing the chaotic nature of my life, because the uncertainty and um, all the chaotic things that came up in that definition, but all the things that is like not in order, the way someone thinks it's supposed to be, gives us access to the next opportunity, the next great thing, the next $1 million idea, as they say. But it feels like we're like conditioned to hide it, to
Yep.
to not embrace it, to act as if, sometimes in church there. I have church friends that would say, fake it till you make it. It's like, what does that mean, right? Right? Type of me, deny that you're not making it right now, right? It's
Yeah,
chaotic.
exactly. It's amazing to me, and I think as we dig in and we discover a little bit more about this, I mean, our American spirit has been built on capitalism and entrepreneurial type spirits,
Mhm.
and it's all about creativity. It's all about creating something, right?
Right,
Excuse me. And that's what's really cool, is as humans, we were created to be creators.
right. Got
And
it.
when you look at this concept and you say, okay, well, if we are going to be a creator, what are the things that we have to work with? What is it that we can what are the tools? What are the substance that we can actually create with? And if
Mhm.
you're an artist, in order to get a beautiful canvas, a Mona Lisa, whatever you're looking at,
Right.
typically you start with a palette of paint and you put
Right.
all these different colors on that palette, and that is a mess. That's chaos because it's
Right.
not orderly. It's just kind of all mixed together. You take a little bit of blue and a little bit of green, you make a different kind of shade, and it looks a little bit messy. And
Right.
out of that comes a Mona Lisa.
Right.
I mean, think about
Wow.
a pottery. Pottery is this big lump of clay. It's this mess of that, and then
Right.
they start shaping it into this beautiful pot. And so in parts of our lives, well, obviously we don't sell the lump of clay because we don't, but yet we
Right.
choose to deny that that beautiful pot came from that lump, or we
Right.
choose to deny that that beautiful creation, that artist creation, came from a palette of blah. I mean, just a
Right.
total mess.
Wow. Is that it's almost as if that there's part of us because of the way we show up in the world that we don't believe that we're creators.
Oh,
You
that's
know?
an identity thing. That's totally
Right.
an identity thing.
It's that we are, maybe because of capitalism, or maybe it's a part of the system, that yeah, we are consumers. We're not creators.
Mm.
So that the creation process is not something for us, for the masses. It is more for a small group of entrepreneurs, or creatives and all that other kind of stuff. It's kind of well, yeah. I think the one thing that that was coming up for me, is that the more that I deny that I'm a creator, the more that I deny that I have a say in my life, right? The more that I just kind of just have things happen to me,
Right.
instead of, me, that I have a say in my life. And so it's like controlling the chaos. I have, by my actions and my activities, I can I can create order. I can create something else. And
You are
wow.
endowed with amount of power, and
Right.
people just forsake that power. They forsake the ability of what you were created. Nothing else in this world is like our human mind. In fact, we haven't
Mm,
been able to even delve into the power that we have just in the ability to think through things and logically come up to conclusions.
right.
The amount of technology that's been done, the amount of building, I mean, we can go back 2,000 years and it's just amazing what humans have created and come up with. But they
Right.
always come up with it out of the chaos or out of the mess of what is there, right?
Right.
And so we have this now. That comes to what you're talking about, is the difference between somebody that's proactive versus somebody that's reactive. And the
Got it.
reactive looks at it and says, I am not in control. I have zero, and everything is going to happen to me.
Right.
Whereas the proactive individual looks at it and says, yeah, this stuff is happening to me, but I see opportunity in the mess. There's a quote by A.A. Milne, and I love this quote. It's, one of the advantages of being disorderly is that one is constantly making exciting discoveries.
Wow.
And
Hmm.
I look at that and I'm thinking, dang it, my life is chaotic.
Right.
I get to discover a lot of really cool things, right? I mean, like, yes. And so that is definitely a mental mindset shift, going from, I am no longer going to allow, and let's just say society. I mean, I remember growing up and society was telling me, you got to go to college, you got to get a degree, you got to get a full-time job, you got to,
Right.
like, society's constantly pounding and pressuring me to be able to do and be in this one thing. That's reactive.
Right.
But when I find my identity and I realize that I have the power to create, and I can see that that is definitely in me, and I embrace that, and I start pushing forward in that, now suddenly this big pile of mess that is my
Right.
life, I can start seeing out of those experiences, see
Right.
how I can apply that, see how I can
Right.
help somebody else, see how I can
Mm,
get back to the community. That's what
right.
really this chaos thing is. By shifting from the negative aspects to the positive, it can really change your life.
Right. I'm starting to look at my desk totally different. There's like opportunities all over here.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah. Well,
boy.
my son builds Legos, and there's a little bit of order to the way that he does things. He does these things called mocks, my own creations. But he's got piles of Legos everywhere. But then he puts all these Legos together and makes this really cool giraffe or kangaroo or something. He just creates this stuff out of his head. But
Right.
that's what I mean by like everybody has a unique individual talent. His happens to be creating with Legos.
Right.
I happen to love working in businesses, and I love creating businesses. Another individual is an artist. Another person is a pottery. Another person is a musician. Another person is a singer. I mean, like all of these things, you have been gifted and you've been blessed with that gift and that talent. Let's bring order to the chaos.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, if there's anything that I guess this moment of, uncertainty and division, and just think of, just the chaos is what you just said. Let's bring order to it. And it's not, I think there's an invitation to the order. You know what I mean? It's not just, I have to whip this into shape, right? You don't walk up to clay and go, all right, I'm gonna get a pot out of you if it hurts me, or so. It's like that's not how that's how not things are created in order. But the more that it's, we see first, right?
Mm-hmm.
We see it. If we can see, a country, a community, a family, um, loving and caring for each other, then we can create that. But if we can't see that, we can't create it.
Yeah.
And I think, it's the there was this I think it was a TEDx thing. It was talking about the hacker's mind, and it just came up because it was like, hackers look at a cell phone and don't just say this is what it can do. It says what else can this do,
Yeah.
right? And I think the more that we're able to look at chaos as not just saying, all right, this is chaos and I just have to deal with chaos. It's like, okay, what is beyond this chaos? What am I learning from this? What is more? And so it feels like, uncertainty and chaos and all those things that in some cases were designed um, to resist, are nice little gifts for us to create something and to bring order when order is not there.
Yeah, I have four different components that I use when I teach about chaos and how to get through chaos and what to do. And you just touched on the very first one, which is really cool because you see it and you're going down that path. And the very first one is it starts from within. It doesn't
Mm,
start from without. It's all about what are you doing on the inside and the way that you see it. It's your attitude. It's your mindset. It's the
right,
way that you are approaching, and that all comes from within.
right,
That means I don't care who the president is. I don't care what society is telling me. I don't care what the social media is. None of that matters because to bring order to chaos has to start from inside of me.
right.
Period.
Mm, wow. Yeah. And I think it's kind of funny. The most of my coaching is around self discovery, and self awareness. In the first couple sessions, I'll have a coachee say something that you, you know I don't want to look into myself because it's chaotic, right? It was like, it's like there's so many things that I don't want to see, about, and I was just like, the more that you see it or be aware of it, then you can do something with it, right? Then you can kind of,
Yep.
I don't want to say control it, but then you're at least aware of it. And it's
You
like,
are. Yep.
one of the main reasons why a lot of them come to me is that there is a level of chaos in their identity. They have been asked to, they got a new job, or they, started a new business, or, or something. And it's like, oh, great. Who am I? How can I show up in this? And it's
Yeah.
just, there's this level of uncertainty. So there is this belief that it's an outside, job. This is something all I have to do is, how they say, and I've said this too, I got to get all my ducks in a row, right? It's like, I got so many ducks. I don't know what the hell they're doing, right? I mean,
They're
yeah,
choosing their own V's when they're flying. It's like, they got
right.
15 V's. That's what.
Right. So it's like, yeah. So it's like, it's easier for me to work on myself, right? It's
Right, right.
easier to look here
Yep.
because, so it's just really interesting, the resistance to look in to
Well, and
really,
that I think comes down to it's a really, again, it's a mindset kind of a thing. So that starts within, but then the interesting thing, and this is the one key element, is that shift from looking at chaos as in as a negative and something that we want to hide and we put mask on, but looking at chaos and saying that chaos holds all of the parts
hmm,
necessary to create my masterpiece.
got it.
So
Hmm,
whether it's that artist putting up a fabulous painting, a potter putting together a beautiful pot,
right,
and I'm not using the right words, but you understand what I'm
right.
saying.
I
But
got it. Right,
and then it comes down to this: in your own life, your chaos holds all of the necessary parts
right,
to become a master at your life.
right.
And that
Wow.
should motivate you more than anything else to go back and say, look, let's embrace these experiences, because out of these experiences is where I get my empathy for other people that are going through that.
Right,
I get my experience, and I can teach somebody. Now look, I've been through that. I've
right,
lost a parent, I've lost a child, I've run through a firing, I've been fired 15 times, I've done lawsuits, whatever that ends up being. I can
right,
now look back on that and say, I'm thankful for the negative. I'm thankful for those experiences, because it gives me a platform and it allows me to help other people.
right. Yeah. No, I totally get that. It's just, um, but it's like I'm still coming up that it's like I don't want to invite chaos into my life, but at least I should be grateful when it's there. Right?
I
So it's like
hear you. I hear
there
you.
is this like balance, like, okay, that doesn't make any sense, right? Type of thing. But it is just like, I know some people. I don't know about you, but I know some people who it feels like they look for chaos, they create chaos. They're just, it's just, if there's chaos to be had, they're around it, right, right, type
Right.
of
Well,
thing.
there are some people that take order and make chaos out of it. I mean, like
Right,
that
right,
happens. You've got
right,
people that are constantly doing that, and there's a definite component. I just chaos is unavoidable. I mean, our
mm,
entire world is in chaos, not just politically, but
right,
it's whether it's our businesses or whether it's something that we have to go back and right now we're talking about quarantining again, and there's
right,
definitely things that are chaotic that we have to look at, and we can say, oh, this is terrible, I don't know what I'm going to do,
right,
but yet it creates an opportunity. And that's where I look at it, and I've been able to now, after 40 years, adjust my focus and my mindset and say, okay, I cannot control that chaos. I have zero
right.
control over what is going to happen to me from the outside, but from inside, I can now start bringing order to all of the things that are happening to me in my life.
Right. There's a thing that, I don't know if I've mentioned to you this before, but there is definitely this tipping point that I believe needs to happen within this space of the world, the chaos in the world, because I think there is still too many, or a great number of people that are, um, waiting for the all clear so they can go back to their regular scheduled life, right? Yeah, if it's a vaccine or if it's whatever it is, but there's this mentality that, okay, all right, I'm going to wake up and everything is going to be fine. And then there's other people, a small percentage of people that's like, okay, this is a part of my life. I'm just going to go in, like you were saying. I'm just going to go. This is within the chaos. I'm going to find order. I'm going to create order within this and just kind of go. But until we see that as a collective, or there is a tipping point, there's more that really look at this moment as this, there is going to be this flux. And I think that's, if I look at some of the frustration that is happening, in our country in particular, from my standpoint, 50,000 foot view, of it, it feels like there are more people upset about the chaos than looking at the chaos as an opportunity. So they're just mad about it, right? And usually that doesn't produce anything.
No, that becomes reaction.
Right.
And then that's where you see a lot of the individuals. I mean, we're kind of going down this dangerous path of politics, but basically you see it from both the red side and the blue side.
Right.
Of people being manipulated by their emotions because
Right.
they're always constantly reacting.
Right.
And by constantly reacting, you can't think critically. So if you're red, you can't think critically, like, well, maybe they're not telling me the red. If you're blue, they can't think. It's like, no, it's blind, absolute reaction of that. And it's like, well, dude, you need to be able to learn how to be able to look at it from within, build
Right.
it out. And then I think the one key element is living authentically. So many times in our lives, we pretend to be something that we're actually not. And we pretend that we don't have this thing. So bringing that out, I guess I would issue this challenge.
Okay.
If you, especially anybody that's listening, if you're willing to take the risk and share the mess that's going on in your life, I'm 99.9% sure that you're going to find somebody else that's like, man, I'm so glad you shared that with me because I'm going through the same thing.
Wow.
I'm dealing with the same issues. And whether it's loneliness or isolation or the fact that you're dealing with a mask or no mask or you're red or you're blue or whatever, it doesn't matter. Everybody has other people that are going through. And the problem is we're all hiding right now. And we're all afraid to be able to live authentically.
Right. Wow.
Because we all have these messes that we're dealing with.
Right. And, the gift of chaos that just that keeps showing up, and it's like, hello, I'm trying to help you here, and it's like, no,
giving you opportunity to create a masterpiece.
Right.
And that's where we do have to come up with a plan on our own, and then we have to act on that plan, and that's a whole nother conversation. But just the fact of being able to identify what is happening inside of our worlds, whether it's our personal life, our society, our community, and so on and so on. Just to be able to identify the fact that there is opportunity in chaos to create something beautiful, to create something that's a masterpiece, that alone gives you a huge shift to be able to be proactive and then to start bringing order to that chaos.
Right. Yeah, I think we can talk about this for hours because I'm looking for it's kind of the more that you talk, the more chaos. It's like, I'm like identifying, okay, this is a chaotic situation, or this is like, okay, there's like I have all these opportunities. I just recently moved, so there is chaos in my so it's like now I can look at them, oh, I get opportunity. I have a place full of opportunity here, and what am I going to create? So, is there any last thing? There's a lot of great things that came up within this conversation. Is there any last thing that you want to leave with everyone?
Oh, only one? I mean, I look at this thing and I find people refuse to acknowledge their past. They refuse to acknowledge the bad things that happened to them that allowed them to become who they are today.
Right.
And I guess if I'm going to leave anybody with anything, don't regret or don't despise your humble beginnings. Don't despise what you can. There was a reason and there was a purpose that you went through it. And you may not be able to feel that today because you're still reeling from the hurt and from the pain. But once you get through that and you start looking outside of yourself, you will be able to look back and be able to say to somebody else, I went through that. You're going to be okay. I can help you through that. Right. And if you can embrace that one component, it should and will change our world.
Wow. Wonderful. I mean, I can buy into that. So I have now embraced chaos, right? And just go from there. Tim, this has been a great conversation. I appreciate you being a part of this. And I'm sure there are still ways to look at this as an opportunity. So thank you very much, and I will talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Okay. Wow. Who knew? Embrace chaos, and then there's opportunity. And the more that we see chaos as a gift and an opportunity, the more that we can bring order to it. I've said many times that every problem has a solution. So if I think that I've created a problem, I have the solution within it. And I think chaos is inviting us to really bring order to it. So look at your chaotic life with no judgment, right? Yeah, it's like as I look around and see all the boxes and the chaos in my life, I have to have no judgment to that, so I can create an opportunity within that. I hope this conversation has brought value to you, not just to today, but to your life. I invite you to reach out to me at IamWilliamBrown.com to have a complimentary coaching session to help you be yourself and live your life. Because the world wants you, the world needs you, and the world is waiting for you. So go be you. Have a great rest of the day, and I'll see you tomorrow on One Word Conversations.